Mississippi Advisory Commission on Marine Resources meeting for Tuesday, July 21st. Commissioner Osborne, will you lead us in a pledge of allegiance, please? Thank you, Commissioner. Director, do you want to lead us in a prayer this morning?
Mike over here. Before we do that, obviously, we want to say a little silence here. Poor young man lost his life, and they buried him yesterday. So Nolan Wells, and anytime we have something like that happen on the Gulf Coast and anywhere around us, it's a tragedy. And for a young man of that age, for it to happen to him, we're very sorry for him and his family, and let's keep them all in our prayers. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you so much for everything that you do for us. We thank you for giving us the opportunity to have a Department of Marine Resources and this commission. And Lord, we just ask that you take each and every one of us and use us your way and not ours. We ask this in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. All right, we have the approval of the minutes, the approval of the minutes to start. Has everybody had an opportunity to review the minutes from June 16th?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the agenda. We do have one item that we need a motion to remove. It's going to be K2. Do we have a motion to remove that?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve the remainder of the agenda?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? All right, Director.
Okay. Let's see can y'all hear me? Do I need to bring it closer? Hey, we good? All right. First off, we got employment contracts. I think they're up there. Christopher Klein has started on July the 1st in law enforcement. We got Hannah McGowan, which started on July the 16th in environmental and natural resource specialist 2 at the Grand Bay. And Thomas Rogers is one of our law enforcement who was promoted on June the 16th to sergeant. So appreciate the new ones, and congratulations to Thomas. No contracts at this time. Bolton Building. Well, we're back in it to a point. And when I say that, what we're at, we're on the first and second floor, and the majority of us have kind of moved into some form of the second floor there. We still jammed up in 2 to 3 to an office in places, but at least we're not paying rent now. But I would, Greg Stewart, who let us use his building, during this last 11 months, almost 12 months now, and this last year to be able to use that building. Greg bent over backwards for us, and he went in and in a matter of weeks had that building set up to the point where we could go in and be able to operate, and even charged us half rent for 6 months. And then he went up after that to the normal rent, and has just been a fantastic person to work with. His people have been fantastic to work with. They would come fix anything on a moment's notice. They was there to help us. And, I would just like to thank Greg, and I will do this more formally one day, and maybe we can do it a little bit more formally, but he was a great asset, him and his team, to us, and we do appreciate what he's done for us. As far as what we'll do in the Bolton building, hopefully we're looking at September to where the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th floors will be finished. And so sometime in September, maybe we'll all be back in there as a normal operation. And that will move everything back to where we were prior to August of last year. And so the good part, the building is going to be a very good building. It's going to obviously mold-free. And it's going to have a lot of new assets to it. It's going to have a new roof put on it. It's going to have new carpets everywhere, new ceiling tiles. It's got a lot of paint in different places that have been painted. It's got to have new air conditioning systems. So it's going to be a pretty good building. And, I think it'll be there for a while. And And it was done for a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to build a new one. So just to give you an idea, I think we spent somewhere in the neighborhood around $12 million the state did to be able to rehab that building, and it's about 65 to 70 million to build a new one just like it. So obviously, money well spent. Any questions on the Bolton? All right. And license is open there, so you can come into license. And but if you come into the Bolton building, you'll still have to do the same as you've always come into the first floor, come through security, and then you can just either go up the elevator to the second floor. Please don't go any further than the second floor if it does go there, and go to the second floor, or you can take the steps up. 2019-2020 Bonnie Carey update. We're still working on it. We're getting down. What we're doing is one of the things that we are diverting some of the money from one pot to another because we were able to get money to do that project through another one. And so hopefully we're going to be able to use that to be able to do some seafood marketing. And what we're talking about there is we're trying to kick a big campaign off. And the campaign is Mississippi Seafood and Gulf Seafood. And we're trying to be able to push people to be able to ask for it and want to eat fresh seafood out of our Gulf. And we're also looking this for our fishermen. And, how do we keep them in business is to be able to keep buying their product. And if we can keep the product on the market and we can get people asking for it, I tell you, if you ever go back and do a little research on where some of these shrimp and all come from and crawfish, you wouldn't eat them. I promise you that. These foreign ones, you wouldn't eat them. I mean, I don't think you would be happy if I told you that I took shrimp over there and grew them into a sewer system in Gulfport. Would you? Would you want to eat those? Probably not. Well, that's what you're getting, and that's what you're getting in a lot of places. So you need to be careful about what you're doing, and you need to ask people. You need to go in, when you go into your restaurants, when you go into the markets, when you go into the grocery stores, ask them, is this domestic seafood? If it's domestic, you can pretty much guarantee it's been tested, and we're looking at it, and it's under controls. If it's Gulf fresh, I tell you, it's nothing better. There's nothing, the good Lord's got control of that right out there every day, and he takes care of it, and we got the best seafood in the world. So ask for it. And with the campaign, we'll do a soft kickoff with the campaign. It'll come in around Cruising the Coast time frame. We've got a new logo that we're going to be putting out, and we're working with it. And we're going to go across the whole state, and then we're going to be doing things, in other parts in the United States to be able to get people to understand. But what better time to kick something off than Cruising the Coast with 100,000 people coming? And a lot of those people are not from South Mississippi. So we'll be able to get a lot of word out, and hopefully we'll be able to do that. Any questions on that? June 22nd, 23rd, we had the Governor's Fishing Classic. It worked. It was fantastic. We had 6 boats that we basically filled up, and had a good event at the Golden Nugget the night before. And I don't know the numbers, so I won't repeat anything, but I don't know the numbers, what we actually will be able to bring to the foundation for that. But the money will be used to be able to extend more scholarships and do some more research and a lot of kids' things. We're trying to work with the kids and trying to teach a lot of young kids how to fish and all about it. You wouldn't think about it especially if you're born and raised here, but you don't think about how many young kids never have an opportunity to put a fishing rod in their hand. We need to give them that chance. We need to give them the opportunity to do it. Some can't afford it. We need to be able to buy them for them. We need to buy them a fishing rod, buy them some tackles, teach them how to do it, and hopefully they'll learn. It's amazing the things out there that a lot of kids just don't have the opportunity to do, and we want to be able to do that. Any questions on that? All right, Neshoba County Fair, man, oh man. I tell you what, I thought we couldn't do it any better, but we did. We had food for 600 plus. We had a little food left over from the event that we had with the Governor's Classic, and so we took that up there on top of it, and we still ran out of food. First time in these 5-6 years that we've been doing this, that we have run out of food. And but I tell you what, that's good. Over 600 people. And you know what the good part about it, it wasn't that hot, but it was muggy and muddy because of all the rain, but it wasn't that hot up there during the June time frame. So next year, get ready. It'll probably be in June again, and we're going to plan for 700 or 800 next year. We don't run out. I mean, I'm going to be like at Mr. Shaw. You ever been to Shaw's Fish House up in Hancock County? Mr. Shaw told me one day I walked in there and he said, I got bad news. I run out of catfish. And I said, oh, Lord, but he made the best coleslaw in the world. I asked him if he had that. I said, I'll live if you got it. But he told me, he said, it won't never happen again, though. I promise you that. All right, so great thing for the Neshoba County Fair, and we appreciate everybody letting us be a part of it. The Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo to July 2nd through the 5th. You know, nothing real spectacular. We did have a big shark come in and some other things, but we had a good turnout, and it's always a good event. Seafood Task Force meeting we had on the 20th yesterday. Where we talked a little bit about that already, and we're working on it, and everything will be coming out soon, and we'll have another meeting on the 10th of August. Where am I at here? Next commission meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, August the 18th. Any problems with that? And we'll be back here as far as we know, because I don't know if we're going to be able to get another building. We have foundation scholarships. I think it's closed. Did it close on the 15th, Patrick? And so if we were offering scholarships, $5,000 scholarships for people that are going involved into marine science. So hopefully we'll get some update on it shortly and find out where we're at and how many people we had apply and who could, and what scholarships. We're going to expand that next year with, hopefully our goal is, we had to find a starting place, and the starting place was marine science, marine biology, and then we'll move it from there to other things. I mean, it's not just marine science and marine biology that runs this agency. We have HR, we have finance, we have different levels of law enforcement and everything else. I mean, we got it all. There's a lot of things out there that cause us. We have PR, and we have IT. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could use people in. And so hopefully we'll be able to expand that in the near future. Any questions on that? All right, we got 255 derelict vessel cases that have been reported. 224 vessels have been removed. 31 are pending removal, and 2 are in the courts right now. So great job. We appreciate y'all doing that. It's been a fantastic work, and we are ahead of everybody in the Gulf. All right, with that, I'll go to actions update.
Good morning, Director and Commissioners. Regarding the action update, at our last meeting, there was a motion to recommend approval of a certificate of exclusion to Jackson County Port Authority to fill .38 acres of marsh for the construction of a rail line in Moss Point. There was another motion to recommend for approval of a permit to Galat Seafood to construct a 280-foot bulkhead waterward, and this is in Back Bay, Biloxi, of existing riprap. Also to fill .1 acres of wetland to construct shoreline stabilization, and also the construction of a 130-foot long pier by 16-foot wide in that same vicinity in Back Bay. Third, there was a state saltwater finfish record with youth conventional tackle of 23 pounds, 7.4 ounce triple tail to fin lips. And that concludes the action updates.
Okay, any questions on the actions update? The only other thing I have, we have a tropical storm, I guess now, has formed. Is it Bertha? Is that the name of it? Bertha? And so it will be coming across the Gulf and probably get into the Mississippi Sound sometime tomorrow or tomorrow night, and we'll have some issues there. But we don't expect anything tremendously bad with it right now. You never know what's going to happen in any type of a storm. You have to prepare for the worst. But we're looking at probably, an average of 20 to 30 mile an hour winds, but there'll be some gusts up to 50 or 60 miles an hour probably at different times. And most of that's probably going to come late tomorrow afternoon or whatever, unless it changes. And it can change every hour. So, just keep your eyes up on it. Surge maybe 3 to 4 feet at the max. So I don't think we'll get anything major with this tidal surge. And so we'll just keep watching it. But Commissioner, that's what I have, unless you need anything else from me, sir. Thank you.
Busy month. Lots of good things going on. Appreciate that update, Director. All right, moving on to the commissioners' report. Any commissioners have anything they need to report on this morning? If not, we'll move down to Chief's report on citations for the month.
Good morning, Director, Commissioners, Stephen. June was a light month. I mean, we have a lot of traffic out there looking at the accident report. I'm sorry, can you hear me? All right. We had 5 accidents, excuse me. No injuries though, no fatalities. That's a blessing. Unfortunately, these folks they're so congested, and they're gonna have little fender benders, or you would say bow benders, in lack of better words. The report itself, there was one that stood out a little bit, shrimping in closed waters. That's very uncommon. It was a recreational trawler, 0.34 miles outside the lighthouse, off the beach. We corrected his ways. So, other than that, nothing really jumps out at me. I mean, like I said, we checked over 1,000 boaters in June. I mean, that sounds like a lot, but that's pretty normal. I mean, July should be a lot more in the next report. Any questions?
Yeah, I was just curious about July. Was it higher than usual, or?
Yes, indeed. Memorial Day was a wash, as we all know. So everybody else was out there. That's the most boats I've seen at the islands in my 26 years. So you got a lot of folks out there. Sir?
July 4th?
The whole weekend. Yes, sir. July 4th.
All right. Appreciate it, Chief. Thank you for the update, sir.
Thank you.
All right, moving down, we have Coastal Resources Management, wetlands permitting. Salas.
Good morning. So this morning, I'm going to be talking about a violation and then getting approval for the after the fact of the exclusion. That is by Mr. William Billy Kinney. It is located on the Jordan River off of Good Street in Bay St. Louis, the general use district. The agent was Lemuel Construction, both of which are here in the audience today. So just to give an idea, this is the project location there with the red star, close to proximity to St. Louis Bay. A little more detail just so you can see in proximity to where it's at, close to the Hollywood Casino Marina. This is the close-up of the property there with the bright red X. So the description of the project is the applicant is requesting after the fact certification for existing boathouses and piers that are constructed out of compliance with DMR 264 from 2025. So just to give you a little bit of background here, the chronology of the project, the application was submitted in February of 2025 initially. We issued the general permit in March. Then the first modification was issued March 25th. And then we also issued a second modification to that permit May 14th, all in 2025. So moving forward to February 2026, we received a potential violation that was reported. So then on February 18th, we conducted a site visit revealing unauthorized reconstruction of a bulkhead, potential fill of coastal wetlands, and potential out-of-compliance structures. On February 25th, 2026, we received a new diagram to add fill into keyhole slips on the property. On April 9th of this year, we did a compliance check. We found that the structures were out of compliance with that original general permit. So on May 7th of this year, we sent notification of violation via email and the postal service to the property owner and the agent. In May 26, 2026, we finally received the application for the after-the-fact structures, and on June 8th, we issued a general permit for after-the-fact certification for the bulkhead and then removal of unauthorized fill. This is the diagram, so the one to your left is going to be what was permitted in 2025 under that original general permit. The one on the left is what was actually constructed. It's about almost 1,000 square foot difference. The access piers do not count in that square footage estimate. This is a picture of the structure that is currently on site. So a public notice was ran in the Sun Herald on June 7th of the proposed project since it no longer meets general permit guidelines. We also put notification on the DMR website from June 4th to July 4th of this year. No public comments were received during our comment period. However, the Corps of Engineers did receive one objection comment via email. DEQ and MDAH both provided no comment. The Secretary of State's office said they had no objection to the issuance of the after-the-fact certification. So I'm going to address the public comment that the Corps of Engineers received with our responses to that. So the structures have adversely affected underwater aquatic vegetation and marine organisms. There is no evidence of the submerged aquatic vegetation or SAV in the area due to water depth, turbidity, and high wave energy. The structures are a blight on the neighborhood. There are similar structures in the area, and this is a private property owner exercising their riparian rights. The applicant knowingly built structures beyond the scope of the permit. This after-the-fact application process and what we're dealing with today actually deals with this situation. Information provided to MDMR, from MDMR to the Corps of Engineers was inaccurate. The commenter did not specify what information was inaccurate in his email. MDMR does strive to provide accurate information to other agencies to the best of our ability. And to grant after-the-fact approval would undermine integrity and purpose of law and permitting processes and disadvantage citizens who comply with the permits. We do have a state statute here in Mississippi that does allow for the after-the-fact application process and evaluations. So at this point, we would like the staff has reviewed the project. We've conducted our evaluation. The project would have been available for a certificate of exclusion had it been done with before he constructed. So the staff is recommending a motion from the commission to recommend to the director approval of the piers and boathouses as they are constructed. We're also recommending a $950 fine be issued to the property owner, Mr. Kinney, that being paid within 45 days in accordance with Mississippi Code or forward to the Attorney General for further if not, and a $1,900 fine be issued to the agent, and it should also be paid within 45 days according to Mississippi Code or moved forward to the Attorney General's office if needed. We're also requiring removal of the unauthorized fill approved under the general permit that we issued by October 19th of this year, or that matter should also be forwarded to the Attorney General's office for further action. So just to give you an idea of the potential penalty range and how we came up with our fine, the violation notification went out on May 7th. It took 19 days for us to receive the application, which then would stop that process of the violation since we now have an application. So the maximum potential fine for a residential project is $9,500. So we're recommending $950 to the property owner as he was aware of the permitting process, which he has been responsive to staff, and then $1,900 fine recommended to the contractor as they are familiar with the permitting process and has had previous compliance issues. I will take any questions, and like I said, both the property owner and the agent are present if you have questions for them as well.
This one's been going on for a little while.
Yes.
Where's the fill that we're
So
talking
you
about
can't
here?
essentially see it on this slide. There is a bulkhead that, so I'm standing on the property. There is a bulkhead that runs along the Jordan River there. It's on the right side of his property, on the Jordan River. So it was concrete, some dirt pilings were placed. Originally, he was wanting to fill out his bulkhead, it looked like, but then that's public waterways and Secretary of State said no. So we've now issued that general permit to have that fill removed.
Submitted 3 times. It would have just went ahead and submitted again. You said a certificate of exclusion would have gave them the permit.
Yes, sir.
They're already 3 times in, is all they had to do is submit once more.
What were the original modifications? Do you know?
So it was changes to piers and boathouses, changing the arrangement, layout, adding an extra pier. So I believe this top,
Left side.
yes, sorry. So the top left, I believe we added the light blue and the yellow piers. I think that was added at one point, and I believe he changed some dimensions also.
So the left is what was permitted and the right's what was built.
Correct.
Pretty big change.
Yeah.
We have a couple public comments. It looks like one is the actual property owner, which is Mr. William Kinney. Is that William? William, just state your name and city, please, and you'll have 3 minutes.
William Kenny, Bay St. Louis, 104 Good Street. I take responsibility for the actions that I did when I was doing it. I didn't realize that the mud flat actually goes out as far as it did. I intentionally did this one, but as I gained money, I added more to my boathouse. So that's how we got to where we are. I take responsibility for my actions. I'm not denying anything. I'm in the wrong.
Well, all you had to do is submit one more time, and you could have washed all this.
I
Situation, for
I
sure.
agree 100%, and I have to say that Miss Allison helped me do everything, and it's my fault. I didn't read the final email all the way down, and so it's my fault.
So you're saying the modifications were all due to a water depth issue as you progressed in the
Yeah,
construction of
there's a
the
mud flat, and the boat that I have has a draft, and I kept going further out till I got off the mud flat.
You understand what the situation is, though. Two things happened. Obviously, what you had permitted, was one thing that we had looked at.
Yes, sir.
And once you went out past that, which was, obviously, we would have looked at it very much and done what we could to help you any way in the world. But it also violated by going about 700 or so square feet above what we can even give a permit for.
Yes, sir.
All right, obviously, the Corps still has to rule on that. And, the Corps has to give anything above 2,000 square feet. And, but it's not anything we can do about that. We can just turn it in. We can tell them that it meets us as far as environmentally, and it meets what we do, but the Corps could still come back and do anything they would like to at this point.
Yes, sir.
And, even to the point of asking you to take it down. Also, that the violation on the boathouse on the blue there, I think it's the blue boathouse,
Yes,
is
sir.
it above 25 feet, which is it 25 feet, Jennifer? Yeah, above 25 feet, which is of another violation. Because it can't, the Corps has those violations, that they set the rules. And I guess that's for your landowners, both sides. If you think about this, you bought and built there because you love what you see. And you don't want something blocking everything that you're looking at. And I think that's what it was all for. But, we looked at this very hard. We looked at what was going on, and obviously, we looked at the contractor. I don't know if there's a contractor here. Okay, and I think, are you going to speak after this? Okay, but, the problem there is we know the rules, and y'all should know the rules. And you know the rules of what we're supposed to be doing. I think you'll find that our agency is as lenient as we can be on anybody. And we try to work with people and we try to help them do things. But it's just like if you're building a house and you went to your city and you were building a house and you said you was going to build 2,000 square feet and this is where the lines was going to be for setback and everything else, and you went in and totally violated it, what's the city going to do? They're not gonna be happy about it, and they're gonna do something with you. It's just like anything else that happens. So, we don't very often give fines. We work hard not to. That's our goal. Our goal is not to ever have to fine anybody. We would rather work with you. We'd rather work with you and do something. But short of me looking at this as a fine, I could tell you to tear it down and rebuild it, but I don't want to do that.
My
And I don't
wife
wanna do
might
that.
agree.
And, I don't want to even go where we're close to that.
Uh,
So I want you to understand where we're at.
Yes, sir.
I did, the staff told me you had worked with them hand in hand.
Yes, sir.
And so and that was brought into account of looking at it also, okay?
All right, we have, any additional questions for Mr. Kenny? All right, we have one more. The picture on the right, the layout, where was that derived from? Is that something that you submitted, your contractor, or is that something that was?
That's the
Miss
actual
Miss
construction.
Allison, did you?
So I essentially made this diagram based off of what was laid out. Are you asking him
I
how
was
he
just
can?
asking because the boathouse side is really out of scale, so it looks like the orange one.
Yeah.
The way the drawing is, it looks a lot bigger than what it really is, but that's why I was bringing it up.
Yes,
a
so
lot
it's
smaller.
only,
That-
33 one way and then 12 the other, but this was just so we could get it
Okay,
to show
it looks a lot bigger there than what it really is.
Yes, so this is what,
Yeah, I think if you're looking at the pier two, is
It won't
the
let me.
purple is the pier itself
Yeah,
and not a boathouse, right?
it won't let me.
yeah, I
click.
think that sounds.
So
about
the blue and the orange are both boathouses. The purple in the middle is just a pier in the middle.
And that orange one would probably be almost half the width, though, if it was to scale. Is the point I was trying to make to the
More than
rest
likely,
of the
yes.
commission. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
all right.
If it was proportional, I'll see what you said.
Any other questions for Mr. Kenny? If not, I'll move to Mr. Baggert. Mr. Baggert, if you want to state your full name and then your city, and then you have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. My name is Ben Baggert. I live at 101 Good Street, Bay St. Louis, Mississippi, right near or adjacent to what we're talking about today. If I could ask the lady to show the photograph again of the pier, of the boathouse, the one that shows that's it. Thank you, thank you. Members of the committee, I wouldn't be here if this were a simple violation, insignificant, and if I didn't know that it was deliberate. But it was, both. It's a gross violation. It's destroyed the look and the feel of a neighborhood that I and my neighbors really cherish. Who am I? I'm a guy who grew up on the coast, went away, made a few dollars, not a lot, but came back and invested most of my life savings in the place next door. I don't know if you can flip to the other view that shows the little pier that I built, the little red roof pier. Apparently they can't. But how do I know this violation was deliberate? Two things. About 5 years ago, maybe give or take a year, I wanted to extend my pier so that I could fish in a little bit deeper water. And I did. Mr. Kenny and I were fishing out there after it was completed. And he said, why don't you go a few feet longer so that we could get to the deeper water? And I explained, well, I couldn't because I had a boathouse on the canal and then this pier. And there's something about the rules I didn't know my contractor knew. I said, but there's something about the rules where there's a proportion between the square feet of your lot and the amount of wharf that you can build over land, and I couldn't go any further. And he said something revealing at that time. He calls me Mr. Ben. He said, Mr. Ben, you shouldn't ask for permission. You should just go ahead and do it and beg forgiveness. And I remembered that. And when this started, can we go, there's my little pier, you see it? The little red thing next to that commercial size thing that Mr. Kenny has built. And if you'd go back to the altitude of that commercial size boathouse again, please, the other picture. Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with here. Now, is this the kind of thing that everybody else in the neighborhood has? No, this is a commercial-looking building. It exceeds the permitted height. Mr. Kenny knew it. And how do I know a second time that he did? Well, this past spring, after Mr. Kenny had dumped tons, you don't have the picture of the riprap that he put in, but it would have extended the size of his lot if you'd been able to get away with it. You probably have the picture somewhere else. But after he had done that, somebody came out and stopped his construction. Somebody put a stop order out there, sign saying, don't do any more work. I walked out and I see Mr. Kenny and I said, Billy, what's going on? And he tells me, Mr. Ben, I tried to save $50 by not getting a permit to do my bulkhead. He didn't mention the riprap. And I said, well, what about the boathouse? And I said, was that a beg forgiveness situation? He said, yes, it was. He said, I got a problem. He said, I exceeded my permit. He knew he did.
Mr. Baggett, I think Baggert, I'm sorry, I believe we're about out of time here, but I do want to see if the commission has any additional questions for you.
Yes.
I understand it's a, he said, neighborly deal back and forth at this point, but I think in our opinion, I believe the end result probably would have been the same situation, the same pier, the same boathouses, the end result, regardless of whether he had the permit or not, to begin with, and they are getting fined in this case, so they are getting reprimanded for what they did. Does anybody else have any additional questions?
No, I think you hit it there.
I do one thing. If you want to do additional, come talk to us. And let's see what we can do. I mean, we can go to 2,000 square feet as we told you. And as far as doing something for your property there, but if there's something that you want to do about building something a little bit longer, we can ask the Corps and we can work with you and we can help you any way we can if you would like to look at that. And we're not trying to say that we're going to give Mr. Kenny something that you couldn't have. That's not the case, okay? All right, if there's something that you would like to do different with your property, and I thank you for following the rules, and I thank you for being a good steward of what we're supposed to do, and I do appreciate that. But don't hold back to come talk to us. If there's something you would like to do different, let us see if we can help you, okay? And I don't know if if you want more pier, if you want more boathouse or something like that. But if he is, just come talk to us about it. But,
That's not why I'm here. I'm here because I know that there was a deliberate violation of the permit. And if you allow that, then why does anybody follow what the permit is supposed to be if they know? What would stop me from doing it without your permission, knowing that I could come back?
nothing will stop you from doing it, but when we find out, we'll let you know. And this is
Yeah.
what we're doing now.
But I could, and then I would come back and ask you, well, I broke the rules. I did this
Yeah, well,
deliberately.
I don't
Go ahead and
ask for
approve it.
forgiveness and not for permission. I've heard that a million times in my life and probably done it a few times myself. So, I'm not going to be one that's sitting here trying to throw hatchets at somebody.
But
I'll be honest with you. I hold more to the contractor than I do the homeowner. And because the contractor's in business to do this, and they ought to know the law for sure. And they know if they can violate something, if they're violating something. And if they didn't, if the contractor knows that they're permitted to build this and they go and build anything different, we got a contractor sitting right here. He can tell you this. And, but if you build more than what you're supposed to, first off, you shouldn't do it. Second off, you ought to go to the homeowner. If Mr. Kenny said, I don't care what they said, you do it. Well, you ought to stop and say, you know what, I'm not. You go get the permit and then we'll get it done. Or you tell me what you want and I'll go get a permit and then we'll get it done. Now, that causes a lot of issues. This is not changing the molding inside of a house. This is changing the other things. So what we have to do is we have to look at that. And that's what I have, if I hired someone to come do my work, I would expect them to know the rules of what I'm supposed to do and not. And I don't take it away from me, though. I still know, and I need to know myself, okay? I still need to know the rules myself because that's part of the law. Ignorance of the law doesn't help you. That's why the law is written out there. So what we need to do is we need to get more people understanding that you don't need to come ask for forgiveness afterwards. You need to come ask for permission to start with, and knowing that the Department of Marine Resources will help you any way we can to get you to that point. And that's one thing we got to get out of here. And so I appreciate your comments. I mean, obviously, I don't like to see neighbors against the neighbors, all right? That's, we ought to all love each other. And hopefully that'll come together, all right? Hopefully y'all two will come together eventually and not be adversaries with each other on anything. But that's just part of life. But we understand, and as I said, if he'd have brought the permit to us, he would have been approved. So now, would the 25 feet above been approved? No, we would have told you, no, you can't do that. And,
That's the main thing that concerns me and my neighbors. It's the commercial size of the height of the
and once
boathouse.
again, I go back to two things. I'm not sure that if, Mr. Kinney knows the law, and I can tell you, before I got Department of Marine Resources, I didn't know it, okay? And so if I'd have bought a house on the back bay or somewhere and I was building something, I wouldn't have known the law either. And I probably wouldn't have taken the time to read it like I should have. And I'll be honest with you there, I probably wouldn't have. But when I hired that contractor, I would have. I would have expected that person to know what to do.
Well, thank you, members of the committee. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Me personally, I feel like the the boathouse in the canal is a lot better protected than the boathouse out in the wide open. So in a big storm, you know, your boathouse might still be intact and his might not. So in my opinion, but all right. So looking at the recommendation from the staff, do any of the commissioners want to move for a motion or have any questions or how to proceed?
I just gotta say, I can't get on board with if he'd asked for another permit, it would have been approved because we're saying two different things here. With the height, it wouldn't have been approved. So I don't understand that part.
So Jennifer Whitman, the height restriction is in the general permits that we issue on behalf of the Corps. If he had come in with this whole project from the very beginning, we would have told him that the general permit limits it to 25 feet. He can apply for whatever he wants, and we would have put it out on public notice, and we still would have brought it to the commission. So the 25 feet is not limited anywhere in state statute, in DMR's
so
regulations, or by the Corps.
It potentially could have been approved.
Yes,
but
just not under that general permit that we issue on behalf of the federal agency.
Right.
This project, because of the total square footage being close to 3,000, exceeds that 2,000 square feet, so it would have needed that additional approvals from the federal resource agencies as
And
well.
what we talked about, Commissioner, I think too, the 25 feet, we could have approved, all right? Above 25 feet, it would have taken the Corps of Engineers to approve it.
How tall is it? So that's your reasoning for needing to be able to get that high, is because of the tuna tower?
Yeah, he's got a pretty good-sized boat that he puts under there.
I've seen the property. I
Yeah,
mean, we
and,
drove by
but
there
the other thing
Sunday.
too, as far as the extra 700 or 800 square feet, whatever it is, that is not something that we could have ever given them approval as far as Department of Marine Resources. The additional would have to come from the Corps of Engineers. And that's still there. That's still out there. The Corps could still come back and do anything they want to. What we're saying is it didn't violate anything. It would have been under our general permit, we would have gave you the 2,000 to 2,500, to 25 feet. After that, we would have told you you had to have a Corps to get any additional
Okay.
approval. And it does not hurt you, it hurt us as far as environmentally. The Secretary of State didn't think we was taking on anything or doing anything different, and so it didn't hurt anything there. So that's what we're looking at. I'll be honest with you, the fine in my mind is the two things. Number one, I want people to understand you got to come here and do the right things.
Yeah.
And I want you to understand that. And we need to get people to start looking at it and understanding. And, I know that talking to the staff that Mr. Kinney had talked back and forth with him numerous times. Now, why he didn't do it the last time, I don't know that answer, all right? But he had been working with them up to that point, and I think he just admitted that he made a mistake, okay?
Okay.
I like it when somebody tells me they did something wrong and they're asking for that. That's fine. That's all right. I don't mind that. I make mistakes too. But I think that we need to move forward with what we have here. And unless y'all got an issue, I would think that, if we could move forward with the fine, that at least they will understand. Yeah, I realize, $950 and $1,900 is not $9,500. I realize that. But the whole point is to get an experience understanding that they did something wrong. And just like, you can go to court for a speeding violation and it can be, depending on what the court wants to put. So that's what we're looking at.
And that'll be linked with, Ronnie, with Lemuel, I guess is the name of the contractor. I mean, this is public record. I mean, this is gonna be linked with his company. forever and ever. I mean, you won't be able to get away from that, so.
And the issue with the core still isn't over with, which is where it would have ended up
Yeah.
with from the get-go.
Commissioner Daniels, we estimate that the height at the peak is around 33 to 35 feet above ordinary high water. We were able to measure up to, I think, 25 feet, and then our best estimate being that I'm not nimble enough to scale it and climb up on the roof.
You wasn't climbing up there?
And I'll be honest with you, this is Mr. Kenny's first major violation. It's not the contractor's first. major
That's correct.
I'm
had
like
numerous-
you, Joe. I don't want to hurt anybody either, and I want people to be able to have what they want to have, but we got to follow the rules.
I know, and we're following to the best of our ability. If we would not say do that after the fact unless we had the right to do it. We have the right to do that. But once again, anything above 25 feet, anything above 2,000 feet is still in the Corps' hand. It's not in ours.
All right.
Where are we in the core process right now?
That's,
The Corps has received the application. I don't believe they have even put the project on public notice. The last I heard, they were waiting on a tolling agreement to be signed by the property owner, which has to do with their timelines for their potential enforcement action.
And the project is completed.
The project is complete with the exception of the removal of that unauthorized fill that has in front of the bulkhead. And that, the date for that has to be removed is the 19th of October. We're just talking about the fill that has to be removed. He said the bulkhead is not completed. So I think when the bulkhead's completed is when the fill will likely come out.
now,
Yes.
we still talking about removal of some stuff. Has that been done?
That's what we're talking about right now. Mr. Kinney just said to me that the bulkhead has not been completed yet, but when the bulkhead is completed, that unauthorized fill is going to come out. And we have that October 19th date. Now, obviously, if we have some sort of a major storm event and Mr. Kinney needs additional time to do that, staff would work with him and with the director, and if appropriate, with the advisory commission to make sure that he has the time to get it done correctly and to make sure that it's in compliance with what's been authorized.
But you've already got a plan in place to get all that taken care of through same contractor?
I was gonna say, if you're gonna, just for the court reporter.
Yeah, so, I'm still pleading my case with the contractor. I know you guys have had a bunch of violations with, different contractors, and it seems like this is the last straw. The truth of the matter is I put their name on everything. I was getting the bids. I've interviewed 8 to 10 different people. When I was filling out the applications, I had my gut feeling that I was going with Lemuel. They were transparent. They had everything. It was a dress right dress. It was a contract that had 30 different things, so everything was outlined. I put their name on there. So the answer is there's still plenty of work to be done, and I'm hoping that they don't can me over all of this, and I have to go start over because, like you said, this is connected to their name. They're making a living. They have 30 families that they're feeding. This is my one project. So I don't know if these dudes are going to work with me, and these are the only ones who are transparent.
Do you have anything you would like to speak on?
Please
It'd have
come
to
up.
be up to the,
So the witch hunt, I'm the witch. I did it. I mean, I did it to them. So
We normally file our own permits.
Please
state
state
your,
your name.
state your name.
John Lemuel.
Okay, city, where you're located?
We have an office in Slidell and one in Bay St. Louis. So we normally do our permitting process for our clients, but Billy insisted that he wanted to save the money and do it himself. He said he could do it and he knew the process, and we consented to allow Billy to do his own permitting, and we signed a contract with him on the project. And look, we want to build properly for the people here. We want to build what they need in compliance with whatever the DMR, with the Corps of Engineers. We try we do everything we can to do this. And so Mr. Kennedy told us, I have all my permits, this is what I have, and we took it on good faith that that's what we were doing, and the two were inconsistent. So,
it's my fault.
it's,
So are you saying you didn't even look at the permits before they were filed?
We-
The application?
we saw that he had one, but we took on Billy's word that what was there was what he said, because we meet the client out on the project and he said, this is what I have, and we just proceeded forward with billing, with building what Billy said that he had. So, I mean, it was our mistake in that sense, but it's not something that we have had happen before. And we were upset of the circumstances.
Well, I mean, couple of things here. Number one, obviously, I used to be a contractor, so I can know what I used to do. And I can tell you that I didn't build something until I saw everything was permitted 100%. And I didn't go and modify something after that. Now, if I was building a house and I wanted to modify the inside of it, that wasn't part of the permit. They didn't care. But anything on the structure side of it, I had to know what I was doing. And if this had been the first time that we've ever had a problem or anything, a violation with your company, I would say, yes, you just made a mistake. But I don't know, but I guarantee you that I can ask Jennifer and she could pull it up, and there's been several of them and not just one. And so that's the understanding is that once this happened to me one time, I had an old commander one time tell me there's nothing wrong with making a mistake and nothing wrong with learning a lesson, but there's something wrong with doing either one of them twice. And my point is, why would you not look at it? Why would you not pay attention? I mean, I don't care how much you trust the person that you're building for. That's not the point. As a contractor, what you're supposed to be doing.
So,
I think he wants to say something.
The truth is I never showed them the scope of the project. I didn't want it to be financially motivated, so I never showed them the whole scope of the project. I never showed them the bulkhead, the fill that I'm doing.
Well, how do you know what to build?
Huh? In Mississippi, as they say, your old lady decides what you're building. So she knew what we were doing inside of our head. So I knew that I had to do the bulkhead. I had to bring in dirt. I had to do fill for the house that she's building. So I knew what I had to do. I've bought different properties, and I know the infrastructure that has to be done. So I never showed them the scope of the whole thing.
I think what Joe was asking was, how did he know what to build if you didn't show him a plan?
Oh, yes. So I said I want a golf cart to go all the way down here to the end of the mud flat when I got a 34-foot boat that I want covered, and I got a bay boat on this side, and I want to have 8 to 10 crabs on there, crab traps on the front. He said, well, if you want a decent deck, then it's going to have to be 40 by 20. I said, all right, give me that one.
But
how it
the
was all
point
done,
is,
I swear to God.
and that's fine, that's what you said, but as a contractor, he should have said, show me the permit where you've got that.
I had the permit from the city.
Yeah, so I didn't demand proof in front of me and say, hey, let me see it, like if you just.
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to get in between you two.
Yeah, that's-
Y'all do your own
yeah,
business. That's none of my business, what you do together. If Mr. Kenny, if you want to take the full fine, then we'll give you the whole thing.
I'm going to take it. And I just want them to.
No,
do
I mean, if you
business
want to
with
take
me.
his fine and yours, we'll give you both of them.
Joe, I actually think we ought to have equal fines on both sides, because it sounds to me like both parties were well in the wrong on this.
But
I
that's
think
what
the
it-
contractor should have followed up, but Mr. Kenny, while I appreciate you taking responsibility of it, I feel like you have just as much responsibility, if not more, in this.
That's up to the commission.
What would your proposal be, Commissioner Daniels?
Either raise or lower.
If 2850 is the total fine, we either split that or we make them both max 1900. I don't care, but I feel like both parties have equal responsibility in it.
I agree with you. I feel like the contractor knew his name was as listed as the agent, whether he reviewed it or not. Just like director said, I mean, that's you have to take responsibility in that regard. It's just like when you have any permit, you need to have the permit in hand and follow the permit. I mean, it's just what a contractor does. That's the only way we survive. So, would you like to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to do a 50-50 split on the fine between the homeowner and the contractor. So that's 2850, 1425 on each side.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? All right, thank you. All right, moving down to Miss Leslie, Finance and Administration.
Good morning, everybody. I'll present the financials for June 30th, 2026. That's the end of our fiscal year. At the end of the year, state revenue was at 6.4 million, agency revenue 83 million, state net income of a negative 2.8 million, and agency net income of 21.4. We don't get our appropriations till September, so that'll flip that negative around once we get that. And after 12 months, we have 80.3% of the budget remaining for the operations, and Tidelands is at 14.1%. Anyone have any questions?
Everybody good? All right, thank you very much.
And let y'all know this deceiving because we don't have 97% of our budget. You know, it's just the way things, when you got a whole lot of Go Mesa funds out there and everything else, it looks like we got a lot more money than what we have. But we actually spend our budget to what we should have done, and it just, the way the record shows.
Understood.
Do you have something else to say, Mr. Skinny?
Oh, no.
No.
Go ahead.
You're fine.
You're good.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Miss Charmaine, Public Affairs.
Sorry. Staff just pointed out that the recommendation for the Good Street file, we recommended the fine, but we didn't recommend, or we didn't have a motion on recommendation or denial of the after-the-fact
Do
exclusion
we need to
request.
grab them real quick before they get out of here?
Jared just stepped out, so we have a recommendation on the fine, but we did not have a recommendation
didn't put a
on
time period
approval
on
or
it.
denial of the after-the-fact request for their structures to remain intact. So, and the October deadlines that we needed,
We didn't put the deadline on it.
We just got to clarify something.
it wasn't on you.
So do I need to amend my motion?
I don't, Sandy, should we amend the motion, or Stephen, should we amend the motion,
now.
or should we just make a second motion?
Make a second.
Okay. So I will make a second motion to follow the staff's recommendation on everything outside of the fine
Okay.
on,
Which allows the structures to stay there.
Yes, sir.
Right.
I second.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right.
Thank
Cleared
you.
up. Thank you.
We just wanted you to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right, Miss Charmaine. Good now.
Okay, I'm back. Good morning. The Mississippi Department of Marine Resources had 81 media mentions since the June MACMR meeting. News items included oysters deployed as part of a restoration project, a retired shrimp boat sunk for an artificial reef, and the DMR licensing and other offices returning to the Bolton building. Marine Patrol participated in the Pascagoula Fire Cups program and the Southeastern Law Enforcement Explorer Academy, both on June 17th. Randy Wilson, Coastal Preserves Director and Coastal Resources Management, gave a presentation to the campers at the Club Paws Summer Camp with the Humane Society of South Mississippi on June 17th, and the Hancock Pearl River County's Conservation Educational Workshop at the Kiln Library on June 22nd. Shellfish Bureau staff gave a presentation at the Conservation is My Superpower Soil and Water Teacher Workshop at the Kiln Library on June 24th. Office of Marine Fisheries Director Trevor Moncrief gave a presentation at the Salt Strong Mississippi Chapter Monthly Meeting in D'Iberville on June 25th. The Aquaculture Hatcheries Lindsay Hoy and Delia Sims also gave a presentation to campers at the Club Paws Summer Camp with the Humane Society of South Mississippi on July 15th. The NEAR's Brianna Andrews and Jennifer Cumbus provided an on-the-road program to the Government Street Christian School on July 10th. And the Mississippi Deep Sea Fishing Rodeo was held July 2nd through the 5th. The agency was on hand each day at the fishing rodeo distributing rules and regulations publications, fish ruler stickers, fish posters, and other informational pieces to the public. And on July 24th, the agency's cooking team served Gulf Fresh Mississippi seafood to an estimated 600 guests at the Neshoba County Fair.
Nice. Appreciate the information. Anybody have any questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Charmaine. All right, looks like we're moving down to marine fisheries. Jason with a blue crab fishery overview.
Well, Jason or Trevor are not here today. They're representing the state and the agency at the Gulf Council's SSC meeting in Tampa. So I'll be here to do the next presentation. I will say I think I'm a little more qualified than the last time I to give you this presentation than the last time I presented to the commission. So, if you recall at the June meeting, Mr. Greg Baker, a commercial shrimp fisherman, came to the commission and expressed some concerns about his interactions and the shrimp fisheries interactions with crab traps. So what we want to do is give the commission an overview of the fishery, some information on how we manage the fishery, and then a little information on what we do as far as the derelict crab traps that are in our waters. So looking at some historical blue crab landings, at least going back to 2012, I do want to note, you can't really see it on this, but you kind of can, that the crab fishery in a lot of our fisheries, but the crab fishery and the shrimp fishery are pretty cyclical. There's some peaks and valleys, and it's usually based on environmental conditions. So you can kind of see somewhat of a peak in 2017, then going back down in 21 and 22, and then a gradual increase in the last several years as far as landings. Landings are in the on the gray bars, and then the value is in the black line. And obviously the value is significantly going higher and higher each year. So this is through 2025. If you look at 2025 landings, we're looking at about 1.4 million pounds with a value of $2.6 million. That's pretty high for the crab fishery. So far this year through June, we've landed 820,000 pounds of blue crabs. That's a 62% increase over the last 5-year average. So that's pretty significant. We anticipate that to continue to go up, and we have another banner year. The value of that is $1.8 million. So just looking at our trip ticket data, this is where this comes from. The price of crabs right now is about $2.30 a pound. That's pretty high. I don't know that I've seen it that high in a very long time. So looking at effort, again, this is from our trip ticket information and our license information. We want to look at our resident license and our non-resident licenses. So the blue bars are resident licenses. We usually have between 150 and 140 licenses sold each year for our crab trap fishery. It's down a little bit this year at about 100, but we're only 2.5 months into the license season, so we anticipate that 140 average to hold for the rest of the year, or to go up for the rest of the year. We sell Alabama and other state licenses. Most of those are Alabama fishermen, and that's around, I believe, 18 or 20 licenses, and then our Louisiana licenses, there's 4 of those. So those are the licenses sold. Our active licenses, which is, we get that off our trip ticket information, so those fishermen that turn in trip tickets, typically stays around 80 right now. We're about 62 for Mississippi residents. The Alabama fishermen are about 8, and then the 4 Louisiana fishermen we have also are active in the fishery. So kind of going along with the price and the landings, the effort has been going up each year. This is the effort between January and June. It's been a pretty consistent increase. This year so far through the month of June, we're looking at about 1,900 trips, so that's 1,900 days of fishing. So breaking it down a little bit as far as the average traps fished. So our Mississippi residents typically fish around 200 traps. I think for 2026, for this year, they're sitting at about an average of 233 traps per trip. The Alabama and other fishermen are around 324, and then the Louisiana fishermen about 340. And so that's probably indicative of what we normally see. They have a longer way to travel, so they're going to fish more traps. Coincidentally, the average landings go up for each of those user groups because they have more traps. And so our Mississippi resident are are landing about 373 pounds of crabs per trip for this year. The Alabama residents, about 700 pounds of crabs per trip, and then the Louisiana residents, about 716 pounds per trip. So how do we manage the crab trap fishery? Title 22, Part 4 regulates the use of crab traps in Mississippi waters. So as far as trap limits go, there are no commercial trap limits. We do have a recreational trap limit of 6 per license holder. We do require that all traps be marked with the harvester's name inside the trap. This is for ownership purposes. The floats must also have the license number and the vessel ID, or if you're a commercial fisherman, a registered color code on the float. Again, these are for ownership purposes. The floats must be 6 inches by 6 inches by 6 inches with a highly visible color. This is so boaters can see these traps as they're navigating through the sound. The lines must be weighted to minimize entanglement. So, you know, a lot of times they'll put really long lines on it based on the tide, based on the depth. And so you don't want a float over here, a trap over here on the bottom, and a real long line floating on the water, because that could be easily cut, and then the trap's lost. So we make them have weighted lines to pull that line down. And then what's real important is it is unlawful to place traps in any marked channel. So we try to keep those out of the channel so normal boat traffic can go through. So those are our regulations. We put a little chart up here to look at other Gulf states' regulations. Because as I mentioned, we don't have any commercial trap limits. We do not have a limited entry fishery, and we don't have any state-issued trap regulations or state-issued crab trap tags required. Same as Alabama. Florida, however, they do have commercial trap limits. It's kind of confusing. You have to kind of read between the lines. But they essentially have a limited entry fishery as you have to have, I believe you have to have landings in previous years to qualify for their endorsements, for their crab trap endorsements. They can have up to 1,000 traps per endorsement. However, if we're reading this correctly, they have an unlimited number of endorsements that they can get. So they do have crab trap limits, but it's a little bit more than those or it could be more than those thousands per endorsement if you have multiple endorsements. Again, I mentioned they have a limited entry fishery, and they do issue state crab trap tags, and so that's how they keep up with the number of traps that are in the water. Each year you get, so if I get an endorsement and I have 1,000 tags, 1,000 traps I'm going to fish, and I get 1,000 tags. They change. I believe they change colors every year. So next year I would have to get however many traps I'm going to fish. If it's 1,000, I'll get another 1,000. So they got a pretty good idea how many traps they have in the water. Louisiana, our neighbor to the west, the largest producer of blue crabs in the nation. They do not have crab trap limits. They do have somewhat of a limited entry program. Basically, if you're going to go into the Louisiana crab fishery and you weren't grandfathered in, then you have to go through an apprenticeship program. So they have to get on a Louisiana crab boat, and they have to sign an affidavit. That captain has to sign an affidavit saying that they work with them and they understand the fishery. They put their names on their trip tickets, and so they verify that they're involved in the fishery before they give them a license. And they do not have state-issued trap tags. Texas, they do have commercial trap limits, and that's 200 per license. I believe harvesters can have up to 3 licenses. And there is a moratorium on any new licenses, and that's not just for the crab fishery in Texas, that's for all commercial fisheries. So they don't sell any new licenses. If you do not renew your license, then your license gets terminated in the state system. They can transfer those licenses to somebody else, but what they also have is a buyback program. So if I know I'm getting out of the crab fishery, the state of Texas will buy my license back from me for, I want to say, I think it's about $30,000. So they can get out of the fishery with that buyback program. And so since they started the program, I think they've removed 65 licenses, which is about 23% of the fishery. So that's some of the things other states are doing. They have similar regulations on their trap trap requirements and their float requirements, again, to keep those traps from being derelict. Now, to go into the derelict side, if you're not familiar, a derelict crab trap is any trap. It's basically not actively fished. It could be lost or abandoned. Once that trap's out there and not being fished, it continues to catch anything that gets caught in it. So one fish or one crab gets in there, that now becomes bait, and it just continues to fish. And they're not good, and we do everything we can to try to remove those from the environment. In fact, Mississippi is the first state in the Gulf to initiate a derelict crab trap removal program. We did that back in 1999, and I'll go into it in a minute, but we've removed a significant amount of traps from our waters. So we have recently received some funds from our 2019 Bonnie Carey Fisheries Disaster Grant, the Gulf of America Alliance, and the National Fish and Wildlife Federation to do a lot of to do some public cleanups, and then to do some kind of outside of the box removal techniques. Again, we do have public cleanups. We try to do them every 2 to 3 years, especially after a storm, because that's when we see a lot of derelict crab traps. We focus in on late winter when there's your low winter tide, so we can see those traps that are near shore. Our staff does collect GPS coordinates, locations of those traps, so we'll know if there's any hot spots. We can have an idea of where the majority of these traps are being found. We look at the bycatch and then the trap conditions as well. But staff outside of the public cleanup, staff has been working on different ways, different techniques to try to find these outside of those public cleanups or outside of those low winter tides, which that's the easiest place to find, easiest time of year to find them. So one thing we started doing several years ago is trying to use drones to locate these traps in the marsh. And so we do these flyovers, and we could see a lot of times, depending on the color of the traps, we could see a trap sticking out of the marsh. We could get that GPS location and go directly to that spot and pull that trap up. But we weren't seeing a whole lot of those. Most of these traps are in the water. And so we started doing a lot using side scan sonar. We initially started using, when I was in the Shrimp and Crab Bureau, side view imaging. So we do side scan, and we would see those traps out to the side. We could somehow get a location on it, and then we'd circle back around and try to remove it. As you know, technology's come a long way, and so we started using live scope. And that's been a game changer because you can see that trap in front of you. You can watch your retrieval go to the trap and pull it up. And so we're improving our techniques with that. We have multiple ways that we can go get those traps once we locate them. You see the picture on the red picture. That's a live scope image. You can see the trap in front of you. And I want to say that line may even be the grappling hook that's going to that trap. And that's Nick pulling up that trap with that grappling hook. But we can also, if there's a lot of traps, or if we can't quite get it with that grappling hook, we can use a boat hook, or I think staff made some sort of device. They call it a beam trawl. It's a big long piece of metal with a bunch of hooks on it, so they can drag it over that area and get all those traps up. So we're working pretty hard on trying to develop these new techniques so we can get these traps out of the water. Again, going back to what we've removed to date, since our program started in 1999, we've removed over 23,000 traps. This chart is a cumulative graph. It shows each year it's going to add, it's compounding and adding to it. In 2007, we had our biggest removal. That was 2 years after Katrina. We received some money from NOAA and Gulf States, our EDRP funds, our disaster recovery funds. And in that year, we employed the fishermen, shrimp fishermen and crab fishermen, and we removed, I think, around 11,000 traps. And that's been our most successful removal since then. I mean, since the program started. And since then, we've had public cleanups and disaster related cleanups. In 2016, we had another disaster related cleanup where we employed the commercial fishermen to remove the traps. But like I said, we typically have a public cleanup every 2 to 3 years. And our staff is constantly looking for traps and employing these new survey techniques to go out and find these traps. I think it was mentioned at the last meeting, but Mississippi State and Mississippi Sound Estuary Program and Commercial Fisheries United and through Alabama Sea Grant, has developed a program over the last 5 or 6 years where they get shrimpers to turn in the derelict traps that they do catch in their trap. I mean, catch in their gear. It is illegal for anybody to remove traps in the water if it's not their own. However, in Mississippi Code 491592, there is an exception for shrimp fishermen that are catching these traps in their nets to remove those out of the water, because what used to happen is they would catch these traps and then they would, it was a burden to bring them in, and so they typically take them to a channel marker and just put them there so they wouldn't catch them again. Well, those traps in the channel marker, those traps near the channel marker are still ghost fishing, so we want to get those out of the water. So they've somewhat incentivized those traps being brought in and turned into to certain bins they have at different commercial harbors, and I think they pay them a bounty of $5 or $10 for each one of those traps. So it's not a whole lot. It's not enough to entice removing traps from the water because it is a burden, but it's enough to get them to bring them in and get those out of the water. So through that program, they removed over 5,000 traps, and I think they've received some more funding to start that program again next year. So moving forward, some of the things we're doing, again, I mentioned the live scope and visual surveys. We're not really going to spend too much time on the aerial surveys because they're not as productive or efficient, but after the next storm, I think we're going to employ those again. Looking in to put more effort into our nearshore areas. One thing we're doing, we do publicize our events pretty well, but we want to get the public more involved. And so you've heard us talk about this online licensing system, commercial online licensing system. When we do that, we're going to have an agency app that's going to go alongside it. And on that app, we plan on putting a way for the public to report derelict crab traps. And so when you see one, you can get a GPS location, send it in to us, and we'll be able to go get it. So it's a lot easier than calling or emailing. So hopefully that'll help out with those efforts as well. We are planning on having another event in 2027, a public cleanup event, some of those funds that I mentioned earlier. And then we're going to continue all the efforts we can to reduce the interactions between stakeholder groups. We're actually trying to look into different ways to try to mitigate some of the issues that Mr. Baker brought up at the last meeting. So with that, if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
All right. Hopefully the gentleman that was worried about was speaking about the crab traps can get this information. Y'all could send it to him
Yes.
somehow. I'm sure he would certainly like to see that.
I got one question that's off topic. You said the price of crabs are up. I've heard speckled trout's up. Do y'all think that's due to our, the menus, having the label on the menus? Are we increasing the demand for our local seafood?
One would hope so. Yes, sir. I think I think our efforts and just efforts Gulf-wide, nationwide, a lot of people are, focusing in on the food that they eat, and they're wanting to eat, more domestic food. The price of crabs, I will tell you, the price of crabs is generated from the East Coast. And so most of our crabs in the Gulf get shipped up to the East Coast, and they pay a lot of money for those crabs up there. But, it's all related to the market and people wanting more domestic seafood, yeah.
That's good.
We're gonna push that even harder.
Good.
And, because, having fresh seafood on the market and having them in our restaurants on the coast, that's something we're gonna push very hard, and across the state of Mississippi. And, so the idea is to be able to keep these fishermen working and not let the industry go under. I would say that, the gentleman who talked to us, last meeting or meeting before? A couple of things. Obviously, if I'm a shrimper and I'm out there shrimping, I understand that. But if I see a line of crab traps, I need to move away from them. I don't need to try to pick them up in my net. So we got to be careful about that. They need to be working with each other. They're both in an industry to make money for the, and they're both doing something and it's not helping either one of them when one of them's picked up. It's not helping the shrimper because he tears his net up and other things. It's not helping the crabber because he's losing a $50 crab net or whatever it is. So we need to be working closer with each other on that and understanding. We talked to the staff. Is there a way to do anything different? We're going to continue to look. We're going to continue to looking as a ways to make this to where we can keep both of them happy. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we got some ideas, and we'll, if we, when and if we come up with something, we'll come back to the commission and talk about it to you guys.
Talking about that, one thing that I saw in there is that the corks have to be highly visible. I mean, do we police that? Because I see a lot of brand new black corks or even brown or like, see that quite a bit out there.
Well,
I never understood it because if I was crabbing, I'd want people to be able to see it so they don't run it over.
They do everything. There's traps. They used to be, when I was highly involved in it, worth about $50 a piece. I'm sure they're more than that now. So they do want to put every effort they can to not lose those traps. I'm not sure about the.
Spend a lot of time looking at them, looking for tail. So
yeah, I understand.
Well, I see them also in the channel. I know they're not supposed to be in the channel, but you know, there's probably some advantage being right by that drop off. You know, with tide flow, and if the tide's flowing the right way, the floats do end up in the channel a little bit. So.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised sometimes if they're not weighted enough or if they're not full of crabs. You know, like with these storms we're gonna have, they'll pick them up and move them. They'll just float off and then settle back down once the tide drops, so they get in shallow water.
Now, I know Mr. Baker, when he was here, was referring to the fact that he thought a lot of the traps just weren't being fished and they were abandoned and, of course, inhibiting his shrimping efforts. So, like, whenever you guys go in, because that 20,000 pound number is pretty significant, like, what is the condition of the traps that you pull up? Like, you know, how many of them are just submerged? How many of them are, like, missing a float? Like, what would your opinion be on that?
So we have those numbers. I apologize, I don't have those with me now, but I mean, there's a good bit that are sometimes, especially during those public cleanups, people don't get the message to move them, and so we end up picking up, or they end up picking up a lot of actively fished traps. But we do find traps that are in good condition that may have been lost. Like I said, they can be picked up and moved. Somebody can that are stealing crabs out of the traps they'll pick it up, they'll dump the crabs out, and they'll throw the trap off somewhere. So there are traps that are in good condition that aren't that wouldn't be considered, you know.
Yeah.
If there are derelict, but they're, yeah.
Is there any, like, as technology has progressed, is there any kind of cost-effective, like, tracking system, like, RFID tag or something, like maybe on the cork?
So I remember looking into that several years ago, and I want to say that may exist in some states, but that's some of the things that we're looking at.
Thank you.
if you do accidentally pick up an actively fished crab, is the fisherman able to recover that once y'all get
Yes.
it in?
So going back to what I mentioned earlier, they're supposed to have their name in the trap and then their vessel ID and their license number on the cork. So when we get those traps, we do contact the fisherman. And then when we were working with Mississippi State, then when they were developing this program for the shrimpers, we told them the same thing. If it's a good trap, don't smash it. Let us know, and we'll contact, or y'all can contact the actual fisherman to come down here and get it, so he doesn't lose that money.
So what happens if you can't contact it? Does that become part of the Rick Burris crab?
No, sir, it does not. We recycle. I forgot to mention, we do recycle all derelict crab traps that we get. We cut the lines off.
There's not a lost and found box in your office?
No, sir, there's.
Smells a little bit.
Fishing reef somewhere.
It's not.
Well, it's good to see the crab fishery thriving, that's for sure.
Yeah, it like I said, there's peaks and valleys, but we're in a definite peak right now, and I think that's going to continue for a little while.
Thank you. Any other
Thank y'all.
questions for Rick?
I'm good.
Rick, before you leave, and maybe this is a director question since we don't have Trevor, I'm just going to get a quick ACL update on the snapper, if that's
We're not
possible.
gonna give you that.
We can't have it today?
No, it's on.
Or
my
at
notes.
least, okay.
I was supposed to do it, so Rick, go ahead.
So,
I just write.
Oh, did you? Oh, you did write it down.
Yeah, I
didn't you?
wrote it down
Okay.
because I forgot it. It was not on my agenda and then I forgot it.
so, we had, as mentioned earlier, Memorial Day was somewhat of a wash, and we had a couple of bad weekends in there. So I think we're sitting at around 62,000 pounds or 64,000 pounds. So we're going to have
We got
about
18,000 something.
18,000 or so left. So our plan is to open up Memorial Day and see what we can get.
Labor Day.
We opened up Memorial Day. We're going to reopen on Labor Day weekend and see what we can get out of that, and then probably go to weekends only, just try to stretch that out a little bit. So
Okay.
we'll
Appreciate the update.
we'll be announcing that sometime soon.
Got a little bit left, so.
Yeah, I mean, as far as, anybody trying to, set up trips and all, I think we can guarantee we're gonna try to open up, Labor Day weekend. And we will definitely be open that weekend and we'll see where we go from there to as to what we have.
Awesome. Thank you for the info.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That was on my list.
You have to speak on
No.
No, we
Pulled
pulled
that
that out of the agenda. Okay, so moving on down, it looks like we got the Grand Bay near Dr. Pitchford, maybe, or?
Hang
Saltwater
on,
record.
hang on, hang on.
Oh, I missed Saltwater Records. I'm sorry. Gosh. Jackson. Let's see here. Josh Waters. Per Jackson. Bonnet Head Shark. Okay. Cool.
Good morning,
Bumble.
Morning, Director, Commissioners. Just real quick, only one record from this past month. It's a youth conventional record, Bonnet Head. Currently, we haven't had a Bonnet Head for a youth record, so new record is now 8 pounds, 11.2 ounces. Angler Jackson Collender. Here's a picture of the shark. And here is Mr. Jackson with the shark. And that is all. So just motion to recommend the approval of the state records.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now it looks like we can move down to Jonathan Pitchford. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, so I'm going to talk about a project we've been working on. We've been working towards this for about 5 years. It's called conservation grazing. You might have heard it described as prescribed grazing or targeted grazing, but it's using livestock to manage vegetation. So we got a grant, a small grant from the EPA. It was administered by the Land Trust for the Mississippi Coastal Plain. And we got, with that money, we set up a small demonstration conservation grazing area at the Near. These are some of the animals. We're working with a farmer from Brooklyn, Mississippi. We got 16 females and 1 male. The male, I call him Horns. He's in the middle photo there. His horns are literally about this big, so he's got a lot of weight to carry around and a lot of women to deal with. And then the farmer also provided 2 Anatolian shepherds that keep predators away and feral hogs away. They are inside just a 3-strand solar-powered electric fence. A lot of people told us that we couldn't do it that way, but they've stayed in. They did get out the very first day, and I was a little bit like, oh my God, what have we done? But we were able to get them back in, and they've stayed in ever since. So here are the 2 paddocks that we've used so far. They're both about 1 acre each. And you can see the little red triangle is a vegetation monitoring plot. I only did 1 of those in paddock 1. I should have done 2. So we did 2 in paddock 2, and we just rotated them last Wednesday, actually. These are old home sites, so they're not like our typical restoration area. They've got a lot of invasive and exotic species on them, particularly Chinese tallow is very abundant there, and we're always trying to manage that. That small yellow hexagon is a feral hog trap. We use that as a catch pen for the first 2 catches to do health assessments. And we're working on that with Mississippi State Animal and Dairy Science Program. So I guess to go back, actually, go back. So at each one of those vegetation plots is also a photo point. So we take photos in every cardinal direction from those. And so this is facing south in that paddock 1, and you can see what it looked like on June 11th, and then 5 weeks later, how much they had changed the landscape there. And that's exactly what we wanted to see. We're seeing more light get to the ground. And so we tried to burn this unit twice. These areas, the majority of the unit burns well, but these areas have not burned well because of all the exotic and invasives. And so we're hoping we'll get more fine fuel growth there and they'll carry fire, and then we can kill a lot of the taller Chinese tallow trees in that location. And we did see a 30% reduction in Chinese tallow just after 5 weeks of grazing. And then this is looking north, and so you can again just see, you know, pretty dramatic decrease in the vegetation. We saw actually a 10% reduction in Kogan grass. A lot of people said that the goats wouldn't eat Kogan grass, but they did. So that's also good. And we didn't want to overgraze, so we kept them on for 5 weeks and we moved them on. So this is a little video, and it's going to show you our aerial imagery we got with our drone before versus after. So hopefully that plays. So that's before, and then this is after.
Stop cleaning up in there.
Yeah.
No kidding.
And then it'll slide back to before. And, you know, with this, we haven't done any real analyses with this, but I wanted to show you this because I think there's a lot we can do with the imagery to quantify these changes. And so this is one of the goats, and they're Kiko goats, that's the breed, and it's stripping the bark off a taller Chinese tallow tree. And I don't know if it'll kill the tree, but it was just interesting to me. I actually got this video on the 4th of July. I was out there early in the morning checking on them. And so they basically girdled all the Chinese tallow where they couldn't reach all the foliage. So we'll see what happens with those trees. I do expect that we'll have to chemically treat again, but I think we'll have to use less chemical, and I think it'll be more effective. And then this is the last video. So part of it, as I mentioned, is a health assessment we do with the goats. And so they weren't used to being handled, so we had to use some corn every day to train them to come to the catch pen. So this is the goats coming for the corn. They learned very quickly, and so we're able to catch them all really quickly now. And that was useful when we rotated them.
Take long to get the buffet, does it?
That's right. That's all I have.
Dinner bell.
How, you know, so if we can take these goats, we can put them anywhere in there, but they'll eat everything, won't they?
Not everything. There's actually some things they avoid, like camphor tree. That's an invasive that we have. They did not touch it. So there's some things they don't like, but they do eat most things. They generally would start on things they like, and then they would move to the next thing that they were like okay with, and then we're like, well, they don't eat this at all. But eventually, there's nothing left, and they start eating that. So they did kind of work their way through.
Maybe we need to put honey on them or something, you know?
Maybe so. Maybe so.
Where did you get the goats from?
Farmer out of Brooklyn, Mississippi. His company's called Deep South Kikos, and he's got about 70 goats right now. So,
How many do you have out there total?
17.
No, I think, I don't know if Rick is still here, but I think that's where he got his yoga goats from.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know if he's back there.
Yoga goats? Part of this I wanted to mention, and I didn't, is that we're trying to develop like an industry so that producers have a new way to make money, land managers have a new tool in the toolbox. So that's kind of part of the project too.
Very nice.
They look like they could be the new Alabama Crimson Tide mascot.
That's a good idea.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Do we have any questions? Any additional questions? Thank you for the update, man. That was great. Appreciate that. Looks like, is there any other business? We already went through the public comments. If not, I guess, do we have a motion to close?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks,
running
everyone.
long today.